Story 2: The Forgotten Asylum. At the edge of a small town stood the remains of Crestwood Asylum, abandoned for decades and left to decay. Local teenagers loved to dare each other to enter the dilapidated building, but most would only venture as far as the entrance before fear sent them running back. One summer evening, 4 friends, Tom, Sarah, Mike, and Lisa, decided to explore the asylum in earnest. Armed with flashlights and a camera, they pushed open the rusted gates and stepped into the overgrown courtyard. The setting sun cast long shadows, making the place even more foreboding. Inside, the asylum was a maze of dark hallways and crumbling rooms. Graffiti covered the walls, and broken furniture lay scattered everywhere. The air was thick with dust and the lingering scent of decay. Despite their bravado, the friends felt a creeping sense of unease. As they explored deeper into the asylum, they came across old patient files strewn about, detailing the harrowing treatments and conditions the patients had endured. Sarah shuddered as she read aloud a particularly disturbing file about a patient named Emily, who had been committed for hearing voices and seeing things that weren't there. Suddenly, they heard a faint sound, like whispering, coming from the end of the hallway. They exchanged nervous glances but decided to investigate. Their flashlights illuminated a set of stairs leading to the basement. The whispering grew louder, echoing through the narrow stairwell. In the basement, they found an old, rusted door slightly ajar. The whispers were clearer now, almost like someone was speaking just on the other side. Gathering their courage, they pushed the door open and stepped into a small room. The walls were lined with shelves holding dusty jars and medical equipment. In the center of the room was an old metal bed with leather restraints. On the bed lay a diary, its cover worn and brittle. Lisa picked it up and began reading the entries. It belonged to Emily, the patient Sarah had read about earlier. The entries detailed Emily's descent into madness, her pleas for help, and her claims that something in the asylum was watching her, tormenting her. As Lisa read, the temperature in the room dropped suddenly, and their breath became visible in the cold air. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, and the friends realized they were surrounded. Shadows danced on the walls, and an oppressive feeling of dread filled the room. Tom shined his flashlight around, and it landed on a figure standing in the corner, a ghostly apparition of a young woman in a tattered hospital gown. Her eyes were hollow, and her mouth moved as if she were speaking, but the words were a chilling, unintelligible whisper. Panicking, the friends turned to leave, but the door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The room grew darker, and the whispers turned to screams. Emily's apparition moved closer, her hand outstretched, as if reaching for help. Desperately, Mike grabbed the diary and began reading aloud the last entry, which ended abruptly. As he spoke the final words, the room shook, and the ghostly figure let out a piercing scream before vanishing. The door flew open, and the friends bolted up the stairs and out of the asylum, not stopping until they were far from the cursed building. Breathless and shaken, they vowed never to return to Crestwood Asylum. They later learned that Emily had died in the asylum, and her body was never found. The diary was the only clue to her tragic fate. The friends kept the diary as a grim reminder of their encounter, but they never spoke of what happened that night. The asylum remained abandoned, a place of darkness and forgotten souls, where Emily's spirit still lingered, waiting for someone to finally hear her cries for help.